Jamie and I are looking forward to our first private chat with supporters on March 5th at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. If you're already a supporter, we'll send a Zoom link to your email. You can become a supporter for as little as $5 a month. Go to wishidknownforwriters.com/support to learn more. See you in the chat.
Welcome to the Wish I'd Known Then podcast, where we focus on how authors found success, looking at strategies that have taken them to the top of the bestseller charts, as well as what they've learned from their mistakes. Because being an indie author is more than knowing the latest marketing trend. It's about being innovative and creative and learning from your mistakes.
Welcome to the Wish I'd Known Then podcast. I'm Sarah Rosette.
And I'm Jamie Albright. And this week on the show we have
Emilia Rose and Michael Evans, and we're talking about Ream, which is a subscription service for authors. So it's pretty awesome. We cover some really cool stuff.
Yeah. It was enlightening for me, and I just think it's fabulous. I mean, the things they've done to make the experience easy for authors and great for readers is kind of fantastic. I'm just so excited about what they're doing.
Yeah, I am too. And I don't have a subscription set up on Ream. I'm having a hard time saying that. I don't have a subscription set up on Ream.
Stop the day drinking.
That's right. It's like 2 p.m. It's not even Friday either. But yeah, I don't have anything set up there, but I have seen the platform and what it looks like, on the inside. And it's very cool, very streamlined and easy to use. So if I can figure out how I want to use that, I think that someday I will probably use it. And we talk about all kinds of things, like how to, like the different types of subscriptions. Like when I first heard about this, I thought that basically all you could do would be like write a chapter and release it each week, but there's lots of different things you can do.
There's a bunch. Yeah.
And tips for like how to be successful and what to expect and how to.
Right. And they have a podcast where they talk about subscriptions for authors. So we talk about that, and you guys can. And
the links will be in the show notes and everything for that. So we should talk about, we have a new supporter this week.
Oh, yay.
We do. We have Claire Kane, and we met her at Inkers. That was
fun.
We
did.
Last year. And she chose the little party triangular emoji. I don't know what it's called. The little
I don't either.
horn looking thing. So,
Yeah.
So thank you for that. And if anyone else wants to sign up, can go to wishidknownforwriters.com/support.
Speaking of subscriptions. Yeah. Well, and we are going to do something for our supporters. Correct, Sarah?
Yes. I am pulling up the calendar right now so I can give you the correct date. So the first week of April, we're going to have a private Zoom call. And I believe we're planning to do that on a Wednesday. Is that right?
Yes.
March 5th at 7 p.m.
Yes. So I know that's harder for anybody that is a supporter in the UK or in Europe, but we're going to change. We'll change the times around as we do these. So
so we'll do this. Will be our first one, and we'll try and do this every so often. I'm not sure exactly how often we'll do them, but we'll do this one.
Yeah, we're not committing to anything.
That's right. After 2020, nobody commits to anything anymore, right?
Oh my gosh! After 2022, I don't commit to anything. Yeah.
But anyway, we have that coming up March 5th, and if you're a subscriber, we'll send you an email, and it will probably come at the beginning of that week. And then I'll probably send out another one the day of to make sure you get it. Yeah. So if you look for that in your email, your junk mail also, because that's probably where it will go. And if you signed up to be a subscriber, a supporter, you should get an email from Buzzsprout. And that will be how you'll get your link to the RSS feed if you want to listen to the podcasts that are locked, because we had some people have trouble finding those. So that is what's going on with supporters. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. I think it'll be a lot of fun.
I know, me too. What's been going on with you?
This week I've done a revision, still working on the revision for the new book.
Yeah.
I told my newsletter that the book is finished, but it's, that the draft is finished.
It's finished with the air quotes.
It's finished with phase 1, and then it has to go through about, 7 more phases or whatever. But so that's done. I don't have a whole lot going on other than that. I did just get an email from Authors Direct. They're the Find a Way Voices has the Authors Direct, and they have decided that the Authors Direct store is going to close. So I've been going through finding all the links to it on my website and kind of changing it out. I think that they're going to have something that they work with, BookFunnel.
Well, that's very cool. And a lot of work. I'm sorry.
It's not too bad. I only have 1 or 2 pages. So
that's good.
That's good.
Good.
Yeah. So what about you? What have you been doing?
Not much. Kind of the same thing. People have been really nice after listening to this week's podcast, telling me I don't need to get over anything. Nobody's expecting me to, which is nice. But today is March 15th, and it is Ted Lasso Day. Today, the new season of Ted Lasso starts.
I know. I had that down to talk to you about. That's so funny.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait.
Have you watched it yet?
No, I haven't. I walked this morning and did some things around the house, and so I was like, I'm just going to save it and I'll watch it tonight.
Yeah, because they're going to drip the content, right? So it's only one episode.
I think so.
Next week, right?
Yeah, okay. I think so. And so I was kind of already preparing myself not to be mad
so
about that.
Well, I did see on social media that someone had posted a hashtag that said "Happy Ted Lasso Day" to those who celebrate.
Yeah, to those who celebrate.
I thought that was great.
Oh my gosh! Here's a funny story. So I think it was my first, the first full year after I started publishing. We were in the car. My daughter, Alexa, and my husband and I were in the car and driving to my mom's, I guess, for Easter or whatever. And I made a little video and just said, Happy Easter for those, I said some other things, but I said, Happy Easter for those who celebrate, and, got off and everything. And Alexa was like, for those who celebrate. And I was like, well, not everybody does. And she was like, well, I guess you're right. And I said, you don't understand. When you're a public figure, you got to be, and she, I didn't mean it.
I bet she thought that was quite entertaining, huh?
Oh, my whole family now. Every time something comes up, well, she's a public figure. I didn't mean it. I just meant when you have people.
Well, we have listeners all around the world, and not everybody celebrates Easter.
Exactly.
So
and that was
totally
before Alexa really got, of course she understands that, but she was still in college at the time and hadn't thought like that. And, but yeah, so it was funny. So now they all, every time something comes up, they'll go, well, she's a public figure. My whole family. My husband, my kids, they all do it. So
that's funny. Well, so I pulled up our stats for our podcast, and we have 12% of our listeners are in Europe, 1% in Asia, 6% in Oceania, and 1% in South America.
Oh, wow.
So we got listeners all over the place.
That's right. Not all of you celebrate Easter. That's fine.
I won't list all the countries. That could get annoying.
Oh my gosh.
That's so funny. Anything else going on?
No, not really. My husband started his new job. That's great. And I guess that's it. I've got a signing. I'm going next week to Baltimore for a book signing, which will be fun.
So this will go out on Tuesday. So you'll be in Baltimore.
I leave on Thursday. Of that week. And so that'll be fun. And then I come back and you and I do something together for a few days, which I'm looking forward to. And then, I don't know.
Yeah. So what's the name of your signing? If anybody,
it's Charm City.
Okay.
Charm City,
It's
I think
it's in
Charm
Baltimore.
City. Book signing.
Okay.
And it's in Baltimore. And but yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing people I haven't seen. And
It'll be good. Yeah.
It'll be good. It'll be good. I have been hearing, just FYI, people getting their Facebook accounts closed.
Yes,
so
I have too.
maybe have a backup plan. I don't know that I have one, but it's like somebody I know very well, very closely, a romance author. She's gotten hers closed. Russell Nolte got his closed. I mean, it's kind of been happening, and there's no appeal process.
Right.
You can't talk to anybody.
That's how it is in this world we live in with these tech conglomerates. But I mean, we even talk about that today in the podcast, that by establishing our own subscription, our own little direct sales funnel, we can kind of insulate ourselves. But we've got to get away from Facebook messaging, I guess, because it's just hard to connect with people if that's the only way you can get in touch with someone.
Yeah.
So
anyway, we should get on with the podcast.
Yes.
And I think you guys are going to really love this. I think it's going to open your eyes to some things. It did mine.
Yeah. So we are interested to hear what ideas you have for subscriptions. So if you're still on Facebook, and if we're still on Facebook next week, let us know.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Here are Emilia and Michael with Ream.
Yep.
Well, today we are talking to Emilia Rose and Michael Evans. Let me give their bio and a little bit about them, and we will get right into the questions. Emilia Rose is an international best-selling author of steamy paranormal romance and has over 2,000 readers subscribing to her monthly. Michael Evans is the author of a dozen sci-fi thriller novels, a serial founder of creator economy tech companies, and a Harvard student. They both are part of Ream, a subscription platform for authors, and they co-host the Subscription for Authors podcast. So welcome, you guys. We're glad to have you here.
Yeah, we are so glad you're here.
Thank you. I'm excited.
Very grateful.
This is going to be a busy podcast. There are four of us. So,
Yeah. So I think it'll be a lot of fun. And we have so many questions about subscriptions. It's one thing our listeners were really interested in.
Yeah.
So let's just start right in with how y'all got to work with writers and how Ream came about. So, Emilia, do you want to start us off, and then we'll kind of alternate?
Yeah, sure.
And be sure and just tell us, kind of explain to us, like Ream 101, like dummy, Ream for dummies, because that would be me, not our listeners, but me.
Yeah, of course. So Ream is basically a subscription platform where authors can host like a community or a subscription for their readers. And we started basically about a year-ish ago. I was doing subscriptions on Patreon for like a long, long time. So probably about 2.5, 3 years at that point. And Patreon kept removing my content because I'm steamy romance, and they had a lot of restrictions that weren't clear in their TOS. So they kept pulling my account down, and I was getting super frustrated because their platform isn't set up in a way for authors. There's different features that it doesn't have. And so we just started a subscription platform that basically helps authors. And so we started working with writers through that because me and Michael wanted to provide a space where writers can write whatever they wanted to an extent, obviously. But yeah, Michael, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I mean, I think people might be curious how we met, because they probably heard that I'm in college currently, and Emilia's, you can't see her, but she's not too old, but she's not in college. So we did not meet in school together. And that kind of goes into my background a little bit, which I have been very, very interested in technology, sci-fi author, but I had faced the dark sides of, I think, the current platforms and how they treat our mental health as creative people. And I took a gap year between college and high school. I wrote full-time that year. And during that year, I was spending money on ads and working a full-time job kind of to like try and make things work too. But I was still like writing 40 hours a week. And I got so burnt out by the end of it and felt like I had spent more time looking at an ads dashboard than I was connecting with readers. Yeah. And then I started YouTube. started live streaming, and through there kind of figured out like there's so many interesting and cool ways to build communities, but it's very difficult to do as an author. There's nothing that makes it really easy to actually be a creator, to own our own platform. So that's when I got interested in working on technology startups that could actually help do this and be a creator who can build something awesome for creators. And I met Emilia through that because she was like a lead author at a new startup. And then they kind of talked to me, and we realized that these people who were running this company had no idea like what being an author was about and weren't actually like in it for us. And we both were like, well, I'm really glad I met you. And it's not just me and Emilia working on Ream. Sean as well, who's Emilia's husband, is our engineer. He's really the one who's built Ream. And it was just like this perfect fit of like, we can do this. But yeah, I guess without that, Ream wouldn't exist without me meeting Emilia and Sean, because I wouldn't have even known that it was really possible to go out and do this. But it's kind of like when you meet the right collaborator, you see that so much more is possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's fantastic that I love stuff that is built by authors for authors. That's like some of our favorite products, you know, like Book Funnel and different things that come out of the community. So I'm really excited to talk more about Ream and kind of get more details on it.
So tell us what you wish authors knew about subscriptions.
You can start, Michael.
I think just generally like what they even are, because when I think of a subscription, I do not think of what Ream is, because Ream's something a bit different than, let's say, Kindle Unlimited. You know, Kindle Unlimited is a great program, and there's a misconception too that being in a subscription means you can't be in Kindle Unlimited. And there's actually an author that we had on our podcast named Avon Ellis, who it was tremendous. She's been able to grow a subscriber base of 100 people a month, and she's a KU author. So what am I talking about with subscriptions? It's really a way for your fans who love and support you, your super fans, to be able to pay for monthly access to a number of things. And the typical models are early access to stories that'll come out later elsewhere, maybe on a retailer, serial fiction platforms, or sometimes both in the case of Emilia. The second thing is bonus content or bonus sort of experiences. So there's authors will do like monthly book club live streams. Authors will release maybe one chapter a month. That's especially for romance authors, maybe something that's two side characters, a steamy scene that the audience is like, hey, it's not part of the main plot line, but we kind of want to know what happened. So that's something that people do. And then the third kind of pillar of subscriptions is physical content. And what I mean by that is signed books is probably the big one. It's also sometimes challenging for authors to figure out logistics there, but it's a big one. And then merchandise, swag, the list goes on of all the things you can do. And I personally have a very deep passion for authors and the creator economy. So that's kind of what it is. And how I like to think about it just broadly is musicians, right? Where do they make their money? They do not make their money on streaming platforms, which is our equivalent of Kindle Unlimited. You get paid per stream on Spotify, and you have to get millions of streams a month to even kind of scrape by after your cost of production. And that sounds a lot like being an author and Kindle Unlimited. There's nothing wrong with that. You can find readers, you can make a great living, but where do musicians make most of their money? At concerts. Now, as authors, we're not performing concerts on stage. Please, that would not be something I'm interested in. And that's not what readers want, right? But readers do want, just like what people who love any artist want. They want a space to be able to come together and get more of what they love, and to have a space that you can bring your super fans together. And that's really just not even talking about any sort of platform. That is what subscriptions are about. That's the promise of this. And it's, I think, why we're seeing it grow as quickly as it is.
Yeah. And just to say, you don't have to be a spicy romance author to make headway on a platform like yours, because Avon isn't. She writes clean, doesn't she?
Rom-coms? I think she
writes clean rom-coms, I think.
Yeah.
Avon does. So it's not even I think that's awesome too, because I think the misconception probably too, because of TikTok, because spicy authors really do well on TikTok, better than a lot of the rest of us, you know, if we're not super, super spicy, is that only fans of that kind of content would want a subscription. And that's just not true. That's not true. Because
Yeah, and one of like the top subscription authors writes lit RPG, so like fantasy games.
Right.
And yeah, so it's pretty much open to anyone. Anyone can adopt the model and use it and make it work for them.
I love that. Yeah.
Well, switching a little bit and thinking about it, like, since you're both authors and writers, when you came to this, was there anything that you wish you'd known about working with authors, like from being like on the different side of the computer, I guess?
Yeah, so I think one thing would definitely be pricing. I think because people are so used to like KU and selling their books for relatively cheap, it's really hard to price a subscription for authors to say, hey, I'm worth this much per month instead of this much like at like a one-time buy. And so we've done a lot of work with trying to help authors feel like, yes, you are worth $5, you are worth $10 and $25 and $150 per month. And people will join your subscription, even though it's priced even higher than your like one-off ebooks. So
I'll actually share a funny story because Ream is kind of in the process right now as we record this we haven't launched publicly yet, but we've launched to a group of close to now closing in on 500 authors that we've kind of had join us in our early stages. And one of those authors uncovered a glitch, which would, these things happen in software, but this is a really funny glitch, which is the reader figured out how to pay her more for her tier than what the list price was. So the reader subscribed, I think, at like $7.50 a month, and then went in there and then figured out after that how to pay more for the author, which was not, it's kind of a funny glitch. We definitely we fixed that, but what it proved to us is there are readers who definitely want to support their authors. She literally went in. It didn't say she was getting anything extra. It was the same tier, and she figured out how to pay more for it. So that's just one anecdote. But on that question, what I would say is the hardest thing being a creative person with all the ideas we have is focus. And when you think of something like subscriptions, and when you look at other authors' subscriptions, but this is also applies to anything. It's very easy to get overwhelmed and be like, look at what they're doing.
Yeah.
If you go to Emilia's subscription, she has like, I don't even know how many tiers, 10, like you have a lot of tiers.
I would never look at Amelia's. I've talked to Emilia enough to know that I would never look at hers because I would be so overwhelmed because she's so productive and prolific. So, yeah.
But there's something about that you're not seeing, which is that she's done it for 3 years.
Yeah,
so she didn't have all those tiers in the beginning. And I talk to so many authors who are like, they hear all these tier ideas. They're like, I want to do the merch. I want to do the signed books. I want to do the bonus content and the early access all at once. And I'm like, whoa, I feel you. I have all those ideas myself. And trust me, like when I put myself and think about my own subscription, like that's really hard. So taking a step back, helping other authors, it's easier to say, hey, look, why don't you try one of those things? The thing that's the least risk, the thing that could start to get you paid for what you're doing and see, oh, is this going to be worth my time before I invest into learning about, how I'm going to get signed books shipped to the UK. If you're in the US, that's not always an easy thing to do, especially with the pricing and all these different questions. Like start small,
right,
and then grow into your vision. Like we all know we have to start with chapter 1 when we're writing. Let's just write the entire world right now. And it's like, you still need a chapter 1.
Yeah. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. That's one of my favorite things. So, but that's true. You start with the first tier and figure out what you're going to do, and then you can move on. Yeah. Or whatever it is. Yeah. I love that. What do you see authors doing with subscriptions that they do because they think they have to, but they aren't producing results?
I think the biggest one for me would be focusing too much on launch, like launching their subscriptions.
Okay.
And then kind of like seeing like launch isn't doing that great. So subscriptions aren't working. Subscriptions are kind of like this long game where you have to keep playing at it. And people aren't going to join all at once and overnight. It's something that you have to kind of like keep telling and reiterating to people like, hey, these are the benefits you get if you join my subscription. And because it's a monthly commitment, it's going to be a lot harder for people to make rather than, hey, I'll buy your 99-cent ebook or I'll read your book for KU. It's something that a lot of authors focus a lot on, but it might not produce the results that they're hoping for because they're so used to kind of focusing on launch and focusing on launching like books in Amazon and on wide retailers. When they get to a subscription, it's kind of a little different.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
No, it's great advice. And I think it goes back to this saying that I like, which is that, subscriptions are not about the transactions, right? They're about the relationship, and that takes time to build. And another thing as well is that some authors get confused when they see that, but it's actually having a more iterative model to how you run an aspect of your publishing business. Being subscriptions is a feature of this. You can make changes. Right. You can see slowly how things are working without having to take this big bet on, will this next release or next series pan out? Subscriptions are a bit different, which goes into my piece of advice in this, which is we have to also understand where subscriptions are at in the reader journey. So typically, if you're charging, $3, $5, $10, $20, whatever the amount is per month, to a cold audience, to a reader who doesn't yet have a relationship with you or your work, that's a tough sell. So running a Facebook ad to your subscription maybe isn't the best idea. I'm sure some people have tried it. I would love, if you've done it and it worked, reach out to me. But I think that understanding, putting yourself in that reader's shoes, your subscription is the thing that you want to tell your existing fans about. And it's a way for you to be able to existing fans. And instead of having to constantly be on this treadmill of finding new fans, you can focus on your existing ones and get rewarded for that. That sounds beautiful, but for almost everyone listening, no matter how big you are, but especially for the people like me who aren't like six-figure authors who are listening to this, you're thinking, well, I still need new fans, right? And that is important. So it's not saying that subscriptions are the sole focus, but that subscriptions are a piece of that reader journey that can be really, really valuable and help you find new fans by having close relationships to your fans. When you make someone love you even more, they'll want to talk about you more. But that virtuous cycle takes time, and you just have to understand the place that subscriptions place in it. It's not the thing that's like, oh, I just found out this author. I haven't even read a page of her book yet. I'm going to go subscribe to her. Maybe not yet.
Yeah. I think that's a really good point, because it is something that you would gravitate to after you know somebody a little bit better as an author. I almost feel like the Kickstarter is like, boom, big launch, really super focused. And subscriptions are almost on the other end of the spectrum, where they might actually appeal to introverts more, in a way that's like you develop that long term. It's more slow and steady versus like the big ginormous launch, which, that can appeal to certain authors depending on what they like to do.
Right. So, like Emilia said, the long game. So I love that. I like that description.
So do y'all have any other common mistakes that you see? Either one of you come to mind?
I would say a lot of authors think that they have to overpromise and promise like tons of content per month when you don't really have to. And along with that is overpromising and under-delivering. So you promise a bunch and then you don't deliver any of it. Or you deliver some of it, but not everything that you promised your reader. And that could lead to readers mistrusting you or losing trust in you and backing out of your subscription, saying, hey, I don't trust that I'm going to give you $5 and you're going to give me my benefits that I paid for. So I'm going to like maybe not buy your books anymore, maybe not be in a subscription anymore. And you can lose a fan possibly that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's the biggest one. That's the biggest one. Anything else I would say in addition to that would be secondary. So I definitely want to highlight that. But my thing with when I talk to people is that I think that starting anything new, we sometimes don't start simple. And I'm not saying everyone should start a subscription tomorrow. That's not the idea at all. But this idea that we want to put more pressure on ourselves and this expectation that we don't even know what's realistic yet. And I think a lot of times people might be trying to get the perfect tier images, the perfect tier copy, the perfect tier names, which I'm using all this kind of subscription lingo now, which I apologize for. And we can definitely uncover some of these things. But it's kind of like even with the book cover, like on day one, you're probably not going to be able to afford or even know the $800 artist who can customize that cover for you and make it beautiful. Like that doesn't have to be the main concern on day one. So, another thing in terms of like under promising and over delivering is like with yourself in terms of how you set this up. Don't think it has to be perfect. I've seen authors with 0-tier images, like copy that is like kind of like a little confusing to me personally as an outsider, but their fans love them and want to support them and they're there for it. And you see them have hundreds of subscribers and it's like, there's something there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, do you see any commonalities in writers who've been successful with subscriptions?
I would say that they're very consistent, whether that's being like they say, I'm going to update on the first of every month, just one time a month, or that day for you. And they really focus on building a community within their subscription. They're showing up, they're responding to comments, they're asking their readers to comment on a post or a piece of artwork, say if they like it or not. And they're just there. They recognize that their readers are there and their fans are there with them. And that makes the fans feel really, really special. And so they want to stay in that community and they want to go promote that community to other people through Facebook groups or wherever they hang out.
Okay. Yeah. So the consistency in keeping your word, I guess, which goes back to the last question too. Michael, do you have anything to add to that?
I would say I know people are wondering on genres. Like it was brought up a little bit earlier. I know people are wondering. And we like tried to answer this question, knowing that this is a fast evolving space. Like literally 3 years ago, barely anyone in this industry had a subscription. And now in the year of 2022, we're talking in like quarter one of 2023. So too early to see any sort of direction this year. But last year, we kind of indexed this list, which it's a free thing on our website that you can find, where 500 fiction authors is who we indexed, who make collectively over $10 million a year in subscriptions, which is roughly getting to the size of around the Kickstarter market for authors. And this was just this group of 500 people. And out of like this group of people, just the aggregate kind of data and looking at where things are, there were a few commonalities. So one I would say is that the early adoption cycle of subscriptions has tended to be more friendly to authors writing in a serial fiction format. That's because writing early access, which is, I think, the lowest lift, easiest model, put it this way. All of us authors are already writing books. If someone could tell you, wait, you just have to post it here 4 weeks earlier and you can make an extra $100, $1,000, whatever that amount that scales with your readership per month. That sounds like a nice deal. That's what a lot of these people are doing. That's like a plurality of successful subscription authors, but that doesn't always work for every reader as equally as well. Meaning some readers don't want to read in that chapter by chapter format. They might want a complete arc at once before you release, which people are doing that too. That started to grow more. An author who does that kind of famously, and I only say famously because she's infamous in our community, is Lindsay Baroker, which I miss your podcast, Lindsay. But
I know, well, I do too.
Right? Yeah, come on. But she does that. So those are one things. In terms of genre, it's way more diverse than people would think at the surface. I mean, we already mentioned like you don't just have to be steamy romance; you can be contemporary. Yes, but also fantasy like outperforms wildly so compared to the broader market. Science fiction as well. Very, very popular in subscription. In addition, you see Lit RPG, obviously, as Emilia mentioned, like brushes it. And I think the commonality amongst all of this goes back to what Emilia said, which is these genres tend to have a propensity where the reader is fanatic. They want to be part of a fandom and they want to have a relationship to a broader community. It doesn't have to be a community of that author, right? It could be the characters, the world, but that's definitely some commonalities. Now, I'm seeing it pick up in cozy mystery. I'm seeing it pick up in other subgenres, but that's definitely the broader market now and be successful in subscriptions. I think that's changing quickly, but that at least was the 2022 data.
Right. Right. And I think that you're right. Well, obviously you're right. You have the data, but and I don't, and I'm not a data person. So I would probably know it's the building community, not just around the author, but around your characters, your world, your small town, your whatever it is. Jennifer Barnes has that great talk about building fandom, and she talks about that, like building those things into your series so you can have this fandom come out of it and build a fandom around it. So I love that for subscription. I guess I never really considered that. So I think that's great.
Well, do y'all see any other? I know it's so early. Like, I think one of the trends is subscriptions, right? That's one of the things that's going on in the author community. And you've kind of talked about the different types of subscriptions. Do you see any other trends other than it just becoming more and more popular?
Just in general, what I'm seeing is a lot more adoption outside of the world of serial fiction, meaning, you know, writers who are writing on platforms like Railroad, Wattpad, Radish were maybe like early adopters of this model. But as it's kind of going to more of a broader market, I think we're seeing like two really interesting things that I think we'll all resonate with in terms of where this industry is going and where subscriptions are playing a role in that, which one is that, and we firmly believe this, me and Emilia, this is like our motto at Ream. We believe that storytellers rule the world. But that's, what do we mean by that? What we mean is that authors are more powerful than platforms and publishers. And that's never before been true in history. And what's happened, you know, even in the self-publishing era, I mean, Amazon and the few other retailers, but really Amazon were really, really powerful and had so much power over creative people. But that's changed because technology has been more and more democratized. Software is more powerful than ever, and authors at a relatively cheap or no cost, like you can join Ream, for instance, and you don't have to pay any money to join Ream. We only make money when you do, and it's a small fee. So that's kind of how our model is. And there's other providers that work in this sort of way that win with you or are very low cost per month that enable people to build their own platforms, right? So where you don't need these other places that are still important, but you're basically just ripping people from these platforms to be in a space where you have a direct relationship with them, where you can control your pricing, where you have the ability to not have an algorithm or this thing knock you off on any given day. That's where it's going, because at the end of the day, storytellers have always been the kings. And I think that we're now seeing this with the creator economy. So that's one big thing of why subscriptions are important, right? Because it allows people to directly, recurring buy from you, for you to have a relationship where all in one place, at least on somewhere like Ream, you could have your community, your stories, that communication, and that payment information. I mean, that's just a unique setup where you don't have to toggle 4 or 5 platforms together. And then the other trend is, I think, the future of franchises. I think we're seeing this right now where Hollywood is like more than ever, especially with Gen Z, totally out of the zeitgeist. Like Twitch streamers and like VidCon is like more popular than like Hollywood and what's happening there. This has already happened in publishing. So what does this turn into? I believe that everyone's going to be able to build their own mini amusement park, mini Disney one day. And as we talk about where value comes from in publishing, I like to look at like, what are the things that people are already buying, right? They're buying candles, clothes, makeup, food. I can name everything. All these industries are what authors are going to be able to break into. That sounds crazy. That sounds outlandish, but we talk to authors every day that they're now in subscriptions, generating great money off of merch, generating great money off of paperback books, signed books, different sorts of physical formats, or even digital formats, that audio, for instance, comic books and web comics. So all these things come together just to share that right now, authors' business models are typically making royalties off of ebook sales or print book sales. And I think 10 years from now, we're going to be really, really diversified in that, where we're going to be able to merge the fictional worlds that we write about more with the real worlds of our readers. And that might mean something as simple as printing a logo on a shirt and having them wear it. And it might be something as complex as, you know, in the future, being able to easily order a candle that your reader smells and it reminds them of a scene in your book. And again, this sounds like, whoa, but really, readers care about storytellers so much that these are the brands that are going to win and build the next businesses over the next decade. And that's, I think, what subscriptions are interesting about, because finally you get to have your own business as an author, not something that's ruled by a platform or a publisher. And that opportunity enables this greater possibility of where this is going. And I'm seeing it every day, people taking more steps into it.
That's great. Well, go ahead, Sam.
Oh, I was going to say, I was listening to y'all's podcast the other day and you were talking about lipstick, right, Emilia? Can you tell us anything about that? Because I think that's a great illustration of this.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So basically I have a Mafia series that I've been serializing through my subscription. And I'm going to have, they're all standalone. So one of my standalones, the girl creates a lipstick line. And so what I'm going to be doing, hopefully in the summer, is starting that same exact lipstick line in real life and kind of like promoting it through my books. And each lipstick is going to be like named after another like of the female main characters in all of the books in that series. And in the Mafia books, they're like lipstick is a common theme, and they all have like a specific color, and they're like boyfriends. They all have a different like nickname. Like one's named the Spider, and so her lipstick, like what's it? Not the like actual lipstick, but the box that it's going to come in is going to have a spider on it.
Yeah.
And it's like really, really, I'm really excited for it. But this is all because of my subscription. And so I'm going to actually try to create a subscription out of these physical goods as well. So I'm excited for it. But that's exactly what Michael is talking about. Subscriptions are basically going to help fund a creator to create a bigger and better fandom.
And it's testing too, right? And you already do this, Emilia, which is, we don't really know all the time who our biggest readers are. You have a subscription, they've self-selected themselves to be in that place. Now you can pull them and ask them the things that they want. And then even better than that, I know almost everyone listening, and myself included, is like hearing Emilia launching a lipstick line. That seems way too stressful, way like above what we would ever imagine. But the thing is, though, if you have a subscription, it becomes as easy as, let me just test this out, set up a new tier, say I'm doing this. If no one joins it, then it's not a good idea. But if your fans want to join it, now you don't have to go out of pocket and go, wow, what am I going to do? Because I now spent hundreds of dollars on lipstick that no one wants. Like, you actually had your fans fund that up front and monthly, right? That's the big thing, that it because subscriptions aren't about the launch, and because it rewards experimentation, the things that we're going to be able to do as creative people, not only with the stories we tell, and it's also the products we create too, that are going to be revolutionized by this.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So what types of different subscriptions have you seen authors set up?
There's a bunch. So I guess that's kind of like, you could answer in two ways. So authors have set up like different types of subscriptions, like they're doing serializing their stories, or they're doing merch or audio dramas. And there's also like the types of models. So I think we talked about it before. There's early access, bonus content, physical, like a physical goods model, and then a basic community. You're in this exclusive community and you can talk to other people who like the same books as you.
Yeah, on the app, right? Oh, that's great. Yeah, that really is amazing. And so, I mean, it really is giving value. Just that one aspect alone is giving value to your readers. If you, if you did nothing else, but you would do other things, but come together and
just chat about it.
Chat about the books.
I don't think that you can't just do that. We had an author in our podcast, Elliot Pepper, who he literally just does that. And he says openly, this is not the most optimized subscription model. So if you wanted to like really try and make a lot of money doing this, maybe don't follow my exact strategies. But he was saying, all I do is say that this money will help me do more of what you're seeing here, which is writing more books. So if you wanted to do that, subscribe. And that's all he does. Again, not optimized for anything, but if you think about it, it took him like 2 minutes to do that. And by giving his fans the opportunity to support him, a small percentage compared to, people who are optimizing that model more with things like early access or bonus content or all these other things, but still he's gotten some people to do it, not an insignificant portion. So don't think that you can't start super small. Obviously the best practices are, if you really want to make money in subscriptions, follow one of the models that we've mentioned with early access, bonus content, community or fandom based, or physical books or something like that.
Yeah.
But still you can start really
You
small.
can start small.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's what we did for this podcast. We started out saying, if you've gotten value from the podcast and would like to support us, to see, kind of what the response would be. And it was great. And so we were like, okay, we can lean into this. And it's a great way to kind of test the waters. So one question that we wanted to ask y'all that has come up before, I've heard people talking about this, is plagiarism, especially if you're doing the early access model. A lot of people are concerned about putting something out first because, like if it's on a retailer, there's been people who've had stuff taken down from KU and put up on like Apple Books, or, like there's problems with scammers in every industry. So what would be your response to people who are worried about like plagiarism or things of that nature?
Protecting your IP kind of thing. Yeah.
So at least for me doing early access, this hasn't been a big problem for me. And I've been like serializing my story on 3 platforms like Wattpad for probably like 4 years now. And it's only happened I don't even think it's happened like a handful of times with those early access stories. That at least I've found. But it's going to happen like anywhere. People are going to scam. People can like take screenshots or use another phone to take a screenshot of your story on a different phone. And it's always going to happen. But as long as you understand that you have tools to take those stories down from platforms and send DMCAs to those platforms to have them taken down, I don't think it's a huge worry, but as long as you have the tools, you should be in a good-ish place.
You shouldn't let it stop you, right? Is that what you're saying?
You should not let it stop you, but it's challenging.
Because anytime you put something out digitally anyway, once it goes out on the internet, it's not yours anymore. It's fair game. I hate that, but it is.
With early access, and I know a lot of authors have this fear, like it's kind of coupled with plagiarism, and a very, very valid concern, which is, well, what happens if my readers who are getting early access start sharing it with other readers, right? The same kind of thing of like more of an innocent kind of, it's not plagiarism, but certainly stealing your work because they're trying to share it with people who didn't pay for it. Those are things that we've really, really thought about, and that just for anyone who's concerned about it, like it's a very valid question and one that you can always ask us questions about. But what we do, and not really other places don't try and do this because they're not worried about, authors have a very specific use case, which is you don't want a chapter getting out. So what we do is, to be reading a story on Ream, you have to be logged in. So you get email notifications as a reader. We're going to be going live with push notifications soon. But if you were to share that email with a reader and they were to click the button to go in and read it, they just wouldn't be able to.
That's great. Yeah.
Right. So that sort of like forwarding sharing model, they'd have to share. They would have to figure out another way to share it, which obviously, as Emilia mentioned, there's ways that people could do that, but we really don't make it easy on them. So the idea is that when you don't make it easy on someone, hopefully, the people who are doing things more, somewhat innocently, but still a bit nefariously, they stop. And the true, actors who are using bots to scrape things and doing things like that, they, like Emilia said, are everywhere. Unfortunately, there haven't been a huge problem that we've seen. We are very responsive to DMCA notices. And when it comes to you being an author, it kind of goes back to don't let those things stop you. Your fans don't want to pay some sort of plagiarized site anyways. The people who really care about your work and want to support you want to pay you.
Yeah. It's your super fans. I mean, you're building them anyway. Well, how can we go about promoting our subscriptions, and what should authors expect when they ask their readers to join? Like, do you have numbers of percentages of people who will join?
So I'll take the first question, and Michael will probably be better taking the second question. So a lot of times people think that you need to promote your subscription anywhere, but I would recommend promoting your subscription where your most active readers are. So if you can promote on social media all you want, but if your audience isn't there and your audience isn't responsive there, it's probably not going to help you get more, a lot of subscribers very quickly. I'd say look at the place where your readers are most responsive. And if that's in your newsletter, then promote it in your newsletter. But if that's on like a serial fiction platform like Royal Road or Wattpad, promote it there. And your readers are going to see like, oh, hey, I see this, that Emilia's on Ream she's promoting on Ream and she's updating on Ream every single day, every single week. She's very consistent. I'm going to go over there and start reading. But yeah, like you post not safe for work art on your subscription, probably TikTok or Instagram or any social media that has like a visual component of it might be better for you. But I would not do paid ads, especially in the beginning, because those people don't know you. Most of the people that you're going to target don't know you, and they're probably not going to convert, especially because it's a monthly subscription. People are going to be locked in sort of monthly and paying you monthly for it. So,
yeah, I think that's very true. Yeah. We had Olivia Hale on recently, and she talked about marketing you want marketing to be running downhill instead of uphill. And I mean, you want to go where you have people who are ready and interested, instead of like putting all your effort into making something happen where the percentage is very low.
It's not there.
Yeah. But Michael, did you have any thought on like
who's going to join?
Yeah, like you just don't want to have unrealistic expectations. I think that you feel like 50% of my readers will sign up, and maybe that's not the case.
Yeah, no, I think 50% is probably almost unrealistic for anyone. That's really high. I don't think, I don't know everyone's subscription, but from everyone I've seen, that would be really, really high. What I will just say, because I do have some data, I guess I'm the guy who brings the data, so I can share some things on that, but I just do want to like say as a caveat up front that data is not always very helpful in terms of setting an expectation in this industry, because we always hear the stories. I've seen like Emilia, and I love books like 20 books to 50K. That's a great Facebook group. But when you're in there, you see these stories of these authors who blew it out of the park, and it's like, that's not always it. And then you see all the stories of the authors who are struggling. So there is like this middle ground that I can share with you, the middle average percentages. But in reality, there's authors who usually knock it out of the park, or authors who are struggling with it. And that doesn't mean that if you're an author who's struggling with it, that you can't be an author who knocks it out of the park one day and that have that slow growth. But I guess what that means is that there's no formula to just say, okay, input this email, add this tier at this price, and you're going to get this conversion rate, right? That's just not going to happen. But if we do think for a second, okay, well, what kind of revenue can I expect from this? I'll speak about revenue first, then maybe subscriber count, because it's tricky when thinking about thinking about a subscriber count. We have to think about an author's overall business. So let's just say there's one pie, 100%. That's what an author's making. So if you're making $10 a month as an author, you're not going to get probably $1,000 a month on your subscription. Probably not. If you're making $10 from everywhere else, probably not. It depends though, because some authors are on serial fiction platforms and have a large audience already and aren't making money anywhere else. And the subscription is the one revenue stream they have. So again, there's no tried and truism, but for more mature businesses as authors who are diversified across, let's say, serial fiction platforms, ebook retailers, different formats like print and audio. So they have all these revenue streams coming in. Typically, a really healthy subscription business can do about anywhere from 25 to 45, maybe even as much as 50% of the overall revenue. So a third, I would say, is what these authors who are really pumping it out with very successful subscriptions are able to hit in many cases. Now, the numbers in between vary. I have an author who we love. She's on Ream, and 70% of her income comes from Ream. And she's she's not like a huge author. She maybe got in her last month in KU 50,000 page reads, which is a big accomplishment. But you can see it scales where some people at a smaller scale than, let's say, the big authors are still able to make a significant portion of the revenue from a subscription. The key note here, though, is that the revenue from a subscription, the expectation, the impact of your subscription is going to scale with your overall audience. So if I'm an author, let's get away from money for a minute, that has 1,000 readers, and it's tough because 1,000 readers might not be the readers on your mailing list. Not every reader is going to be on your mailing list, and not all of the people on your mailing list are your readers. They're people you may have gotten from promos. And so saying that, if you have 1,000 people who really are casual to super fans along that spectrum of your work, who maybe even read a few chapters, right? On that spectrum, having anywhere around 5% subscribe to your subscription is great. So if you have like a high quality mailing list that's coming from the back of your book and you have 5,000 people on it, having 5% of those sign up for your subscription each month at $5, $10, and some is, a good, I hate giving people targets. I want to say that with all the caveats, right? That would be a sign that this is going well.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean they're all going to sign up on day one, right?
Right.
A lot of times it takes them like weeks and weeks to sign up. So when you launch, don't think that you're going to get 5% on day one when you send out an email. That would be a lot. But in terms of how you market it, kind of like I said, I was painting out all these caveats and the different places authors come from, just to say that there's no marketing formula in a box, but the simple way to put it is wherever you have connections to your readers, which hopefully you do have a way to be able to contact your readers, whether it's by posting another chapter in a serial fiction platform, making a post on a social media platform, making an email in your email newsletter, putting something at the back of your books on a retailer, whatever that way is to contact them. Once word eventually gets out to them, that's got to be your strategy. Just let them know about it. Those people who know about your works. So for some authors, it might be different. If you have a huge Instagram and you want to just have the best shot at launching your subscription well, and you've cultivated a great audience there, then just start with one Instagram post. Don't get overwhelmed with the 10 things you might do to market it. Whereas if you have a strong mailing list, just start with that one email. And then you could build in those other marketing activities to say, okay, I'm now going to make a link in the back of my books to this. Trust me, I know it's annoying to have to update the back of your book. So you don't have to do it all on day one.
Yeah. That's good information. Yeah. And I think it's true because just like, readers are people and they're early adopters. It's same in the book community. There are early adopters. People are jumping on the subscriptions and Reams. And then there are those of us that are sitting back going, let's see what happens when they do it. And then I'll decide if I'm going to do it. Well, the same thing with readers. Some will jump on immediately and others will trickle in as they see it, the other readers having value from it, let's say, or they see the value of it. Yeah. So that's great.
Yeah. I think that a lot of us, like, I'm not usually an early adapter. I like to watch and see what's going to happen. But I think that in a few years, subscriptions will be just another thing that authors do. And so I think that if it does appeal, it's a good time to get into it. So, I guess we should ask also a little bit more about Ream. So tell us about, like, if somebody wants to sign up, is it still in beta right now, right?
We launched May 7th to the public where any author can join.
Yeah. So people could join. I don't know when the podcast will come out, but we have a wait list right now. We're inviting more and more people on every single, I think it's week, right, Michael?
Yeah, weekly. Yeah.
Weekly. So we're really excited. But yeah.
In terms of like the process itself, like when you sign up on Ream, you can start to create your page, which is basically where your tiers will be. You can upload your stories, and all of it's pretty simple. We have now 24 help guides live on the site. You can always reach out to us if you need help with anything. By the time that your readers or your audience here actually maybe goes to check out Ream, we'll probably have more help guides and the site will be even better because every week we're making it better. But the kind of main functionalities of Ream are you can publish a story on Ream and you can schedule those chapters very granularly by the tier and by the day. So if you were like an author who's offering early access to their books, you could upload 50 chapters of your book, and instead of having to make 50 separate posts at these different times, these different tiers, you could do it in a few clicks. And why this is valuable is because a lot of authors who are doing at $10 a month, chapters 8 weeks early, and then tier 1 at $5 is getting chapters 4 weeks early. And that's actually what the biggest subscription authors do in Lit RPG. That's like their model. They do that. That's and they're very successful at it. So that's one thing. We have a community. You can make posts in your community that are either public or you can make them to specific paid tiers. Kind of think of it like the beginnings of your own mini Facebook group inside of Ream. When someone signs up, you get their emails. So you have your own membership dashboard where you can be able to do that. And then we have, I guess those are the main areas. You can obviously set up your tiers.
We also have, which I think is really, really cool is an integration with Google Docs. And so if you have your story in Google Docs and you've separated the chapters out by chapter headings, then all you have to do is pretty much press like 2 buttons and your entire book gets uploaded into the system and separated out by chapter. So you don't have to like create an EPUB or like copy and paste all of your chapters inside of the e-reader. It just like automatically drops them in, which saves a lot of time.
Yes, that's amazing. That's awesome.
We're big on the saving time. If there's something that can save authors time, we tried to add it, and
that's great.
That's our goal. Save you time, make your readers happy, which actually is the big thing for readers. For readers, so that's like the author end of things. When you're a reader, you get to go in to your author's reams. You get access to not only the community, but the stories and the specific chapters that an author has given to that tier. And then when you're actually reading the book, it's a social rereader. So it's an endless scroll. So you could like scroll for like dozens and dozens, hundreds of chapters. And that would be your book. And then on each paragraph, there's basically a plus sign where you can actually comment as a reader, and authors will get notifications, and you can have basically conversations with other readers and the author inside of the books you read. It's very unobtrusive in terms of how we do it. So it doesn't disrupt the reading experience, but it's a really cool add-on for readers who want to engage in that way. Yeah. So that's what we do. We try and bring you.
I mean, I can think of books that I've read that I was, at 10 o'clock at night, I'm like, I gotta talk to somebody about this. So I mean, that would be awesome. Yeah. That's great.
That is fantastic. Yeah. So, and you said earlier that Ream gets paid when the author gets paid. So it's not like a monthly fee. It's just it's from off the membership, right?
Yeah, it's a percentage off the membership. To be like super transparent, it's a 10% fee for everyone, all features. So that's just very simple. And our goal is to help save you at least 10% of your time, help you make at least 10% more money, so that hopefully the fee's a no-brainer. But in addition to that, there's also a payment processing fee, which if people are familiar with other subscription platforms, it's a very standard model. And on Ream, we have one really unique thing about us, which is that we allow authors to choose whether they want to have a direct-to-reader integration, which is basically like selling direct on your own website. You get like full access to that payment data, really, really cool stuff. And if you're not interested in that, you can have a Ream managed account. And a benefit of a Ream managed account is that we handle sales tax and VAT. So every other platform you go to gives you one option. They say either we take the control from you or we leave you as direct selling, and you have to figure out all these complicated things like sales tax and VAT, right? And we looked at that and we're like, this doesn't feel right to like just say every author on Ream is going to be either or. So we're like, why don't we just give them the option? So that's what we did.
That's great.
That's good, because I've been looking into sales tax, and it's a big pain. So I can see how some authors would be like, oh yes, please sign me up right now.
For
and
sure.
Both are the same platform fee for Ream. So both we take 10% from the, that's it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Simple
That's
is
great.
good. Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, tell us again where people can find Ream and also your individual books.
You can go first, Michael.
Well, I would say if you want to learn more about Ream, if you go to ream.ink, keep it super simple, that link, authorly, right? Ream.ink. If you go there, that's our waitlist page for authors. And depending on when you go there, the site might be live. And then you'll have the author landing page that'll share with you a bit more about Ream. And if you want to check out my books, I've written a number of fiction books, but I've actually written 2 nonfiction books that you can just get for free if you sign up for the waitlist. Sorry to keep you waiting. You can read those nonfiction books for free. One's called Creator Economy for Authors, and one's called the Subscriptions for Authors Starter Guide, which gives you a lot of information on how to start your subscription. A lot of it we covered here, but of course, there's some stuff that we didn't get to. So that's my books.
Awesome. I also want to say subscriptionsforauthors.com has a lot of subscription info. It has our podcast, as well as I think we have a few articles or blog posts there. But for my books, I have all of my books listed on my website, which is emiliarosewriting.com.
Great.
Right. That is awesome. Well, thanks for being here and for sharing so much and giving so many tips. And we'll have all those links at wishidknownforwriters.com. And thanks to Alexa Larberg for editing and producing the podcast, and to Adriel Wiggins for doing the admin. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening, and we hope you enjoyed the show. If you would like to support our podcast, you can find the link to do so at wishidknownthenforwriters.com/support. See you again next week.